Okay, welcome to our Zoom today. We have Walt Glass as our speaker who's going to be speaking about informational interviewing. And Walt comes to us with lots of years of experience and expert in an interviewing role as well. So I will let him go ahead and introduce himself and share with us his wonderful knowledge. So go ahead, Walt, we'll turn it over to you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I pray for each one of you. I have this philosophy that you can't have too many people praying for you. Can't have too many people love you. So I send out a prayer to each one of you as you go through this transition period. What do I do and who am I? Well, I'm a retired guy. I retired about 6 years ago. Maybe, no, it's been 8 years now. I have a trouble with memory and numbers, but nonetheless, I was in IT for over 20, 30, a long time. And so what did I do in all that time? It was a lot of software development, a lot of customers in developing and implementations. My last particular position for 10 years was serving colleges and universities in the state of Texas. And so if you go to a lot of these schools and you look at a web page, for example, or you look at their finance system or their registration and all that sort of thing, we would be the ones supplying that type of software. So I was responsible for service sales in that role as well. But you know, back in 1999, I was working for 25 years and the third series of layoffs came around. And so I took an early retirement. Thought I'd be working in about, maybe 5 or 6 months, probably 3, 15 months later. And I went through this process of learning how to do job search. So this is back in 2000. And guess what? A lot of that stuff is still the same today. And so there's several aspects of job search. I actually focus on interviews. And so I have a free interview success workshop. You have to be registered to attend. You can look me up on LinkedIn under Walt Glass, see some details about it. It's in my About section. And it's a way of selling ourselves. And I define that as I am, I do, and I help. Who we are, what we do, and how we can help. And as I go through this presentation today, if you see something that kind of looks like an I am, I do, I help, I'd like you to unmute and shout out and say, there's an I am, I do, I help. It won't say those words, but it might say something, that represents those words. So you get kudos if you can catch those through this process. Well, inside of that is preparation for interviewing. And inside of preparation for interviewing is networking. If you haven't heard all the importance of networking by now, I mean, it's just overwhelming. Everybody says network, network, network. And so then say, yeah, we all know, we know we should do it, but how many of us are actually doing it? And specifically, what is the tool for for networking is the informational interview. So today's focus is on a little bit about networking, and then we're going to dive into informational interviewing. I'm going to approach some of the parts of this thing from ground zero, all right? So I may insult a little bit of your intelligence today. I never know where everybody is in their job search and where their knowledge is and what they've learned and what they're practicing today. So bear with me as I go through some of these fundamentals. And if you ask questions and talk to me during the interview and we have some discussions, then I might drop the presentation into the chat window for your glorious use whenever you have insomnia. All right, so let's go forward with this thing and get started. Well, we know that LinkedIn says that about, a high percentage of jobs are not posted. We spend an awful lot of time surfing the net, but 85% of them are filled through the networking, 40% through referrals, and we're going to really focus on these referrals, but only 7% use referrals. So that's kind of some interesting statistics for us. So if we're spending a lot of time looking for jobs, that's 75 to 80%, and we find that most jobs are filled, we might have some questions about where we're spending our time. So let me ask you this question. You can use the chat window if you don't use chat window and you just need to put in a letter here on ABCDEF or other in case I didn't include anything like, an hour a day. But how many days per week do you really spend applying online? And I'm talking about a 7-day week. So if you could just enter the time. So there's Thomas, do you go by Thomas, or Thomas?
Thomas.
Thomas, okay, Thomas, thank you. D, 3 to 4 days, that's very good. A, okay, less than a day. Thank you for being honest. Tim, D, 3 to 4. B for Scott, 1 to 2. Now, sometimes these quizzes are like assessments. When you take the assessment and you have these multiple choices, and we don't want to put down the ones we are, we want to put down the ones we want to be. So we might want to say, well, I'd like to be spending this amount of time with it. All right. Well, thank you for that input. And so, Christina, I guess that you've got other activities in your life other than active job search. And so that's how you said yours. And so when I'm doing it.
He's just starting the process in an exploration role work.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, if you got a part-time job or something, these numbers don't necessarily mean that you're completely free for the 7 days to do job search. Okay, a B. All right, thank you very much for putting those into there to give me some idea of where you stand on idea of networking. So let me ask you this question. I mean, we did, let me go back. We did applying online. Now, how much time do you spend networking? So I'm all. Greater than 5. My goodness, that's great. There's a 2 to 3 days, less than a day. Very obvious you're starting, Christina. Got too much to learn to do, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, job search, the first part of job search is, when do you stop adding things to your to-do list? I just like to reach that point sometime and say, okay, I'm finally found out everything I'm supposed to do. And it's nice not to have to learn new stuff to do. And you get a pretty good long list, does it not? All right. Well, thank you for those answers to see where you're spending your time on that. I appreciate your information there. So let's talk about networking. Just a couple of facts real quickly. 6 degrees of separation. So we're almost all 6 links away from any other person in the world. And they say with social media now, some say, 4 links. Well, that means everybody that's on LinkedIn or on the social media, right? So 2 links have a 50% chance of success. This is an amazing statistic. I can't believe this. It's just like, I can find somebody, that third person through. So when I ask a question about somebody, and if I'm looking for a contact or some information from somebody, if I just ask, do you know anyone, say, do you know anyone who works at Toyota? Well, they may not. But then if you say, well, do you know anyone who might know someone at Toyota? That's the 2nd degree connection. And they might know the 3rd degree connection. And that's a great chance of success. So when we're asking people for information and going through these, getting some information about whatever, we should ask, do you know someone or know someone who knows someone? Then towards the information you're seeking. Very important that you do that, because you've increased your percentage chance of success dramatically. And what are our targets? Well, you know this, people that have the information we seek, or for a particular job or company, then a target company inside a target industry. We might be seeking information from them. Some of this is going to be in preparation of interviewing, and some is going to be preparation for job search, in particular jobs. So some of it is finding out data, and some of it is finding out about a job. Those are a little bit different. Realize that we're never not networking. Thank you for those who turn your camera on so that I can see it. It helps me a little bit, but we always should be maintaining a networking mindset where, Disney World has an underground. Maybe you're familiar with it, and they're not employees. They are called cast members. And when they go up to the above ground, they are always operating in a fashion to help people have a good time. You know, that's their purpose. And so when they're up there, they're always presenting the company. And we do that too. So if I know somebody and and they're kind of hard to get along with or whatever it might be, and they work for this company, then I might blame the whole company. I might see a review on Indeed and it gives some complaint or problem about a company, so I might blame the whole company, right? And most people don't fill out things unless it's negative to begin with. If it's happy, they don't take the time to do that. So we can do that, but it's not going to be something we ought to use as a data point until it's validated. So we're always networking. So what do you need to have before you do an effective networking session with somebody? Well, you need to have what we call the USP. And for some of you may know Jack Bick. He's a coach, a career coach, and he calls it the unique selling proposition. But it's known as the value proposition. What is it? So mine is something like, I'm an interview success coach. I help people gain skills and knowledge for successful hiring interviews. So my value to you is provide you with process and data and information and practice for a successful interview. You ought to have your resume handy and a bio. Now, a bio is tremendously better in my mind when you're talking to somebody for information or even for a job than a resume, what your bio is, because that's just giving information you. A resume says I'm looking for a job. A bio says this is information about me. You should know your attributes, your soft skills. You should know your experience, and you should have an achievements inventory for you. You should have references prepared. You should prioritize some target companies, industries, or targeted information that you want. And you can do potential LinkedIn connections research by using this software called crystalnose.com. They give you a few free ones. If you go to that website and you pick out a person, it'll come back and it kind of gives you an assessment like you would take any assessment, how to deal with them. It's pretty interesting. You might want to try one of that. So you know that you're going to come in and I'm going to be your interviewer. Then you go into LinkedIn and go to Crystal Nose and put me in there, and it comes back and gives you a lot of information about me. It could be helpful to you. So that preparation could be good, right? A lot of preparation. Let me talk about terminology here. I don't want to mix sales and networking terminology here. It's different. I call networking relationshiping, all right? So let me define a couple of words. Contact. A contact is somebody who sends to me a generic, I like to connect with you. No reason. No, I don't know you from anywhere, just nothing. And I connect, and you and I are contacts. The relationship on a scale of 1 to 10 doesn't even make it a 1. It's very low, which I always say, please always send a personal request on your connections to LinkedIn. But anyway, a contact is someone who doesn't have much knowledge. Then there's the connection. That's someone with whom we have a relationship, all right? So I just met Tracy. We've sent a few emails back and forth. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, our relationship is about 0.2. Right? We're just now beginning to build that. So we know a little bit about each other. So we've gotten to that point, but we have connections and we have various levels of relationships. So we want to rate these things. How do they know about us? Do they know our character? Do they know our experience? Do they know our value? So those that know a lot about those are high, have significant, then there's medium, and then there's low. Okay, time out. I'm going to back up. Let's see, right here. You see this? See that attributes? Doesn't that sound like I am? Experience is what I do. Achievements is how I help. Catch that? Well, let's go forward. Character, experience, value. There it is again. Who knows about us? How will they describe us? Do they know the kind of activities and types of tasks and jobs that we've done and do? And do they know how we can help them? So then you rate them. Once you get the high, you rate them by willingness to help. Some people are very high and very willing to help. Some are not. Some are none, right? So they might have knowledge and know us all, but they're too busy, not going to help us. Then we want to, once we get them rated, we want to focus on a list of these people. And they say, this is a high knowledge, high help person, an A1. So we like to focus on the A1s, the A2s, the B1s, and the B2s. Those are going to be our prioritized list of the people we want to try to build a relationship and network with. Now I want to expand your contacts to connections. So I'm looking at my connections. It's called connections in LinkedIn, and I call most of them contacts. But are you aware that you can download all of your connections from LinkedIn? You can take that, and I put them in a spreadsheet. And one of the nice things I can do is I also have the comments. If they put in a request, a note, that's also comes with it. Used to, you could see that on LinkedIn, but you don't see it anymore. But today you can download all of that. And so here's all the people that I know on LinkedIn and start going through that analysis process with them. So who do we want to connect with? So here's a couple of ideas. Some people are mentors. Some are coaches. Some have knowledge about the industry. Some know what's going on, with a particular industry and what's happening. A connector, access to people, resources, and information. Does anyone know who one of the most significant connectors that are in the DFW area? Who is it? Would you know them? Does anybody know Foster? Anybody know Foster?
I was going to say, that's how I was going to say Foster Williams.
Yeah, Foster Williams. All right. Thanks, Dana. Well, he is the guru of connections. So if you want to find somebody, know somebody, and guess what? He likes to help make connections for us. So he's willing to help. So if you don't know Foster, y'all look him up and get to know Foster because he knows so many people. Anyway, the connector. There's somebody that we can sit down and dream and say, well, let me talk about some ideas. I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that. So our idealist, and then we go to the realist to help us keep it real. Always remember and think about my son is an eternal optimist. He's very positive all the time. And then when I'm not positive about something, I say, I don't see how any way we're going to win this game. He says, you're always negative. I said, nope, I'm a realist. So in us, the realist world, the opposite of positive is realism. A visionary. Who are those people that can help see down the road, help us plan our steps from progressing where we want to go? A partner. Or are any of you in an accountability group? I don't see anybody saying yes.
Yes, I am. I'm in 2.
You're in 2? Great, Dana. But the advantages of an accountability group to help us understand what our targets are, what we're trying to achieve, put some metrics on it, for the next week, then how we did last week, how we can help each other, encourage one another. Very, very positive thing to have that. So it's like this birds of a feather. We're going through this thing together and we're helping one another. It's very, very positive. And so that's a great one. And then the wannabes. So we can, they'll help to shape and guide us based on our experiences. They'll look at where we've been, what we're going, and say how you get there. And then we can also be a mentor. I think it was Maya that said, if you learn, teach. If you get, give. So mentoring is giving. It's in teaching and it's in helping do that. So fantastic part of networking. We also want to make sure who we're building that connection with is for their background. They want different industries. We want different backgrounds, age, etc. So look at that as you go through these particular names. Say, really, I would like a mentor, I'd like a coach, or who could be a mentor, or who could be a coach? Who is that? So let's talk about referrals briefly and get into the guts of this thing. So what was a networking call? So there's a couple of types, and these aren't quite the same as sales, but they're similar. So a cool call. This is where our referral source is passive. And they say, well, just when you call them, tell them Walt sent you. Okay, just use my name. I'm very popular. That means, yeah, I'm glad to help you out. I'll give you the name, and then I'm done. I'm too busy to do anything else. So that's a cool call. The warm calls have good, better, and best. A good one, they'll introduce us. Have you ever sent an email and said, okay, hi, Tracy. Hi, Dana. You're both sent on this email. Tracy, I want you to meet Dana. Dana, I want you to meet Tracy. Dana's interested in this particular thing, and I would like for you to get together, and then I wash my hands, and it's you guys take it over. So that's the better one. A good one. A better one is when they request a meeting. So not just introduction, but let's schedule a meeting. And then the best one is when let's all three get together and meet. So we could do that by Zoom today. Some do that. We can ask for that. The hot call is when they call us. So I have a person who I've referred to sometimes, and I send him an email and I say, here's a person, here's what they're interested in. They would like to talk with you for minutes. Are you willing to talk to them? Here's their contact information. Then a couple of days or so later, I call him and say, how'd it go? So, I already called them. So that person, you went ahead and stepped out and called. Didn't wait for the person to contact them. Perseverance is required. We are going to have a lot of rejection. You know that already. You got to keep moving. There is a funnel in this process, but we need to really identify the most productive people that we can find, the A1s, the A2s, the B1s, and the B2s that can help us move forward. In the Bible, in Matthew 13, it talks about the parable of the sower, where he went out to sow some seed, and some, fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it. And some fell on the rocky places. They sprang up quickly, but since they didn't have much resource to grow upon, they withered. Others fell among the thorns, which grew up, and the weeds choked the plants, and another fell on good soil, and it produced a crop. So what has that got to do with us? Well, when we're networking, we're talking to people, there's the hard ground. They hear us, but they don't accept anything. The stony ground refers to those that hear us. They show some interest and awareness. And maybe they might see something later and make a connection or a click and call us, maybe not. The thorny ground, they hear us, but they're just too busy. I think today at work, it's almost all crisis management. Everybody's too busy. Everybody's got too much to do. And interviewing seems to be, and hiring seems to be falling to the bottom of the to-do list because they're too busy in crisis management. And long-term isn't any further away than the next quarter. So it's a very, very busy atmosphere. We got to overcome those barriers to get in and talk. So the fertile ground is where we are looking for our network connections. Let me flip the coin and say, all right, what ground do you represent? So when people are helping you, are you a hard, stony, thorny, or fertile ground when you help people? There's a lesson there. So end of networking, nurture it, find out how we can help them, and we connect with people in their world, not ours. Always be in the other person's perspective. The reciprocity is, the best way to get help is to give help first. Build a relationship, help them first. Talk about them first. Those kind of things, very important. Build relationships, ask for assistance, and offer assistance always. So let's get into informational interviewing. So what is it, why we want to have them, what keeps us from doing them, and what are the steps? Well, it's a tool to build relationships and discover how we can help others. Now, I put that one up on the top for a particular reason, and that is I want to help other people first. You might have some contacts that you're calling and you hadn't called them in quite a while. And so you only call me when you need some help. We feel about that. And so we're kind of worried about doing it. Well, we got to do it anyway, but we got to get out there and start helping people. So when we update people and we talk to them, we're going to find ways to help. That's included down the line. We can also gain knowledge. So we might want to be looking for any specific set of knowledge. And we also might be looking for something in our job search pertaining specifically to that. So a conversation about whatever, who's in a position to help us directly or indirectly, right? And it's a great way to get in the front door of a company. Well, remember that statistic, 85% found through referrals. You know, when you get a referral, you get to the top of the list on the interview queue, right? And you've almost got the job. Well, you almost go in saying, you know, it's mine to lose. Somebody has referred me, and I'd much rather do that than go through all these resumes and read them and let the ATS system try to pull out people. It's a mess. Why do we want to have them? Oh, there's a whole bunch of reasons here. You know what they are. What can we do for them is first, all right? We want to build that relationship first. Then we can get whatever information from an expert who's got the data up to date. It'll also help us improve our interviewing skills. So we'd like to get that potential referral. So that can be an objective since we're in the job search mode. Somebody can take a look at, well, here's what we're doing. Here's how I'm going about it. What do you think? And get some advice. And so you can get some coaching through that. Find out that information, which is important in our job search because we want to shorten it. I'd like to work for a company that I want to work for. Why interview with a company that I don't know anything about the culture, how people work, what's it like? I'd rather find that out first and then chase that company. So we want to find out if we want to work there. So you can enter this into the chat window too. So this one is what keeps us from doing. So let me put this in the chat. Now, some of you may do really well. It's easy. It's a way of life for you. It's fine. But since I'm going down to the nitty gritty and say this may be some people who have done nothing, haven't started, no interviewing. So where do you stand with that? Are you ready to do them? Are you connected? You're not good at it. You don't know how to start the conversation. It's kind of difficult to ask for help. And I really don't want people to, to tell me what I'm afraid I might hear. So A, B, C, D, E, or F. We got a Christina, ABC. I understand, Christina. It's difficult to start out, is it not?
It's just a process. And you've got to be geared up to do it, I guess.
Okay. Small rate of success. And so, you know, I get a lot of rejection. And so doing it, I have to do an awful lot of it to get any value from it. All right. Well, I've done this before, and I will continue updating the statistics on this. But the most reasons that people give are, I don't know how to initiate the request, and I find it difficult to ask for help. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today to help you with some of the specifics on those things. How do you feel when someone asks you for advice and help? So, Christina, since I can see you at the top of the screen. Hi, Christina, I'm Walt Glass, and I understand that you know a lot about nursing. I'm really interested in the healthcare field and in the nursing arena, and I'm thinking about becoming a nurse. Would you spend some time with me, maybe just about 20 minutes, so that we could talk about the nursing? I think with your background and experience, you would have a lot of good sage advice for me. Now, how do you feel? How do you feel?
I'd actually almost feel honored that someone be
you are right.
Knowledge to help them.
All right. How much time of your life have you gone through saying, I wish they'd asked me for my support and my information? And how much time have you gone through life with people saying, I need your help and advice and support and information? It's rare, right? Finally, somebody's interested in what I have to say. Somebody values me. And so we feel good. Therefore, we need to learn how to let people help us.
That's true.
It's good for them. When they help us, they feel good. They enjoy doing that. I mean, we live in Texas, for Pete's sakes. Now, for you that's in New York, I'm not sure if it's quite the same, but you still got to use the same techniques. But my goodness, it's easy to ask. We just have to practice a little bit and let people help us. I'm going to tell you about the story. So I lost my wife about 6 years ago. She was a great cook, and I can cook 3 things, including scrambled and boiled eggs. So I'm buying some stuff, and I have the necessity. I got my Miracle Whip, I got some ham and lettuce, tomato, and some bread, some potato chips, and I think that was about it. And she says, "Is that all you're going to get?" I said, "Well, yeah." I said, I don't know how to cook very well. I lost my wife, and she was really a great cook. And she says, "I can teach you how to cook." And this is a Kroger cashier. I don't know her from Adam. She doesn't know me. And she's volunteering to help me learn how to cook. And I wasn't dressed like I had a lot of money either. So I don't think that was an influence. That's how it goes. People are very much willing to help. All we got to do is let them. So we're going to talk about the steps of the informational interview. There's 9 of them. The last 5 of them, I'm going to spend a little bit more detail on. So let's kind of go through these things one at a time and march forward. You have to be focused first. We got to know who we are, what we do, and how we can help. There it is. There's the I am, I do, I help. I need to know, I can describe myself. I can have other people describe me. And so I can articulate to other people my characteristics and my personality and the kind of person I am. I can say that, and I can demonstrate it in the way I communicate and talk. So there are lots of assessments that are out there. A lot of people are using Strengths. Clifton Strengths used to be Strengths Finder. But you got to watch some of those terms, because woo, if you know what woo is not very obvious. So you put it on your resume that you're an input in a woo, and nobody has a clue as to what the heck those things are. So we got to be careful how we use that. We have to identify what is it we want, right? Specifically, what are you looking for? What's the target? What's the objective of this informational interview? I have certain things that I want to find out, right? Now, who am I going to ask? Where does it fit? So we go through the A1s and the B2s and all that sort of thing to find which ones that might be in a certain industry. We got to classify specifically with the industry that we're looking for. And then we got to look at the people. So we're going to look at people. We're going to look at companies. So if you can know your first, get focused in knowing who you are, what to do, and how you can help, that's going to help you identify a company. It's going to help identify an industry. You might work with one company, and then you look at their list of competitors, and there's other targets for you. Find out all that kind of information. Very step process. And then we got to do some things called preparing scripts to get the interview. This is for those of you who can't get started, don't know what to say, I don't know how to ask for help. So I'm going to give you some details about that. So let's kind of go through that quickly. The basic structure of a call is we're going to say something about who I am. How do I know them? How do I get referred, or whatever it might be? Why do we value their input? State our reason, where we are. I'm in this, I'm in that, whatever it might be. This example is career research. And what do we want to hear from them? What do we want to talk about? What questions would we like to ask? We have to have those questions set up. We might not be able to ask very many, so we got to prioritize them and say we got to at least answer, try to get the answer to these. 20 minutes is a very long time. And explain that you're not contacting them to ask for a job. You're just seeking information, and suggest 2 specific meetings, times, and dates, and maybe do it now. This whole thing of saying, well, Tracy, you and I ought to go to lunch one day. All right. When do you think we'll go, Tracy? Never. But if I say, Tracy, I'd like to go to lunch with you next week. Is Tuesday okay for you? And get it scheduled, right? So we got to do that.
Because someday never comes around.
Yeah, that someday never comes around. All right, here's an example, kind of a generic. I'm Fred Johnson, and this is how I know you, or this is what we have in common. Finding something in common is huge, because that's an instant connector. Both going to the same university, both belonging to the same, maybe you both go to the gym and exercise, or I mean, whatever it can be that's common is great, because that helps build that relationship right off the bat. I'm interested in whatever it is. I'm looking for these kinds of people who can provide this kind of information and maybe some additional information. All right. Then we want to say why we value them. Why is it important? What is it about them that makes them the person that we want to talk to? Making them feel valued and that we want to listen to what they have to say and it's important to us is huge. And then we want to ask, do you know someone or know someone who knows someone who could give me that information or who fits this description? So I don't know who Tracy knows, but Tracy, I might go to you and say, you know anybody that knows anything about interviewing? He says, oh yeah, I know somebody. I can't remember his name, but I know somebody. I'll have to go research it and find out. But anyway, that's the typical structure that we want to do. So this will help you. Here's an example. Fred Johnson met you at Toastmasters. I'm looking at exploring opportunities in the healthcare. I'm looking for finance executives on healthcare issues, as well as help me make this shift in my career. Now, this shift could be going from something to finance or from one industry to another. You got to be specific there. I'm thinking of you as someone whose advice I value with your experience and background and who might know the kind of people I'm looking for. Do you know someone or know someone who knows someone who can give me that information or that description? So there's kind of a script for you to use as an example, as a guide. I don't use it word for word, but you can fill it out to your tailoring for your situation. Now, what happens if they provide a name for us in the referral? We got a name. Boy, there was something I'd like to know. And so, Thomas, you provided me with a name, and I would say, how do you know Fred? All right. And why do you think they would be a good person for me to talk to? What's the best way to contact them? Would you be willing to contact them and see if they would take a call? Can I use your name? And anybody else? If you don't stop at one potential connection, you ask for more than one. You'd like to get 2 or 3, perhaps. So anybody else do you think that I should talk to besides that person? And then we say, how can I help you? So as I'm talking with people, I'm looking for ways to help them with something. Maybe it's providing some information about this or whatever it might be. As we have a conversation, I'm listening and I'm looking for something that might be of value to them where I can help them. It's another key aspect. Be sure that you follow up with your connection. This is one of the things that's disappointing to me, because I'll give a name, industry, however the connection does or whatever we do. And I get an email back that says, thanks, exclamation point, and I never hear another word, nothing. Now, if I did that to you, and I said, well, thank you very much, Christina, I appreciate you giving me this name, and then you don't ever hear back from me, what's your feeling about me? You can unmute and tell me.
Not so great.
Not so great,
Because,
right?
yeah.
Not very appreciative. How willing are you to help me the next time?
Not
as
at
well,
all.
right? Yeah. Now we call, the ATS system a black hole. Well, sometimes that connection process is a black hole. So always want to follow up with our connections. Now, what if suppose they don't give us a name? Well, thank you for speaking with us. And then there's a couple of options here that you might want to choose. And there's more than just these 3. But, what advice could you give me on what my next steps should be? How do you think I should move forward? Where do you think I might find this information? If you were me, what would you do next? Okay, I appreciate your time. And then we always ask, is there anything I can do to be of assistance to you? Now, I want to tell you a little story. It's very short. But for those people, after my wife died, of which there were many who called me and said, well, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. How many people do you think I contacted? None. None whatsoever. But if somebody came over, saw me, talked to me and said, okay, and they knew about me and my cooking, and they brought me a casserole. I mean, they found out a way they could help me and just did it. They didn't ask me for it. They just did it. That's what we want to do. We want to find out those things and just do them. If you just say, how can I help you, and walk away, I'd much rather find a specific thing that I can help you with. Or you say, well, you talked about this, and I know Dana, he's an executive, he's in operations, and he's done a lot of experience with that. He might have some value. You might want to talk with him. Let me ask him and see if is he willing to talk with you. I might not mention your name, but I know somebody that can do that and talk with that. Much stronger. So here's a script, for example. I'm going to run through a couple of them, and they're very brief, and you can use these. I'll put them in the chat window. Someone's got to ask a question somewhere. So here's where Tracy has given me her name. So I call Christina. So, hi, Christina, I was talking with Tracy, and she suggested that I contact you. All right, that's an opening statement. Here's how I know you. Here's what I'm getting. Here's where I got your information, whatever it might be. And I used her name. So I'm in the process. In this case, the example says a career decisions. You might be able to give me some valuable advice with your experience in the industry. So this person is in the career business. She is a Tracy type person. She's the person I would ask this kind of question to, because she's in that business. She's very expert about it. I just want a brief meeting with you. I'm really not looking for a job or a position. I really want to get some advice and some information, insight from you, from the marketplace. Then I'm specifically say, here's a couple of dates that I'd like to suggest, date and times. Get it on the calendar, get it scheduled. What's the key words in this? Because I like to focus on the keywords, because if you focus on the keywords, you can build your own script. So what is it? The information? The information I want is I'm making a career decision, and I'm looking for your valuable advice. I'm telling them that it's valuable. I want a brief meeting, again, advice and insight. So I'm pulling a lot of information. Well, I really appreciate this from you. Those are some of the key words. And so if you want to use a little bit different one, I found your name and contact information here. So I didn't get a referral, but here's how I found your name. So, and then the same words actually follow through. So the keywords are, I'm making career decisions. I'm something about where I am, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to accomplish. Here's my purpose and goal. You can give me advice, insight, suggestions. Advice is a great word to use. I would love your advice. Who asked us for our advice? We talked that a minute ago. And then schedule that specific time and give them a couple of options. Mondays are bad. Fridays are bad. What's everybody doing on Monday? Monday mornings are terrible. We don't want to mess with people on Monday mornings. And Friday afternoons, they're terrible. Everybody's trying to get out of Dodge, right? So we kind of want to stay away from those times. Wednesdays through Thursdays are best. Monday afternoon and Friday mornings are second best if you can't get Wednesday through Thursday. So here's a couple of other opening line approaches. So if somebody suggested they call you and you have a referral, similar to the one we already talked about, no referral, I found your name. I'm changing your career direction, but I don't have a referral. I'm in the process of making this, and I believe your advice would be extremely helpful. Job search strategy. So you got to choose your topic and what your opening statement's going to be. And these are just some examples of them. I'm making a career change. Can I meet with you? So let's talk about now the preparation for handling objections, because a lot of people will say, I don't have time to help it for whatever reason. So here's a few of them and our responses that could get around these barriers. I don't have time. So I realize you're busy. That's why I'm only asking you for a few minutes. Would it be more convenient to do this over the phone? Anything, just don't accept the rejection. That's the key message here. They're going to give you a reason not to. We don't want to stop there. Hey, it's just our job that's in the in the focus here. And so I want to push forward. In fact, I would rather have somebody do a little pushing and do a little work and say, I'm interested in doing this, than somebody who just accepts the negative and walks away. Send me your resume. I'd be glad to, but I'm only looking for information and some advice. All right. I'm not looking to send you that yet. It's not part of the process. I can't help you. Well, Joe told me that you know a lot about this, and I'm sure more than you get credit for. And then you know a lot more than I do about this. And so that's an objection possibility. We have no openings. And well, I appreciate that, but all I'm really looking for is information. I'm not looking for a job. Well, they'll send you to a recruiter, right? I get lots of calls from job seekers. I'm sure that's because you're knowledge and experience. I'm only asking for a few minutes of your time. So there's a few ways that you can start out responding in ways to and some objection. Try to
Well,
do
I have a
something.
question.
Sure.
Are these, is this usually on LinkedIn that you're doing these messaging or email, or how is this conversation happening usually?
Well, most of the time it's a personal one-to-one phone call, right?
Mhm.
You emailing somebody to start something, I think, is the poorest way to do it. Calling somebody, talking to them is the best way to do it. Because you can ask a little bit more, you can talk a little bit more. Say emailing are just words. There's nothing else goes with it but just words. And it falls to the bottom of people's to-do list if they even read them, or it doesn't go into spam. So having a conversation and talking to somebody is what these are.
Okay, thank you.
You know, good question. I don't have any contacts to give you.
Well, this
Yes.
is so kind of along those lines. So when I've done this and I've gotten a referral, I usually do like LinkedIn if I don't have any other message, and I'm using a lot of your techniques. But as far as calling, I feel like that might be a little more presumptuous. I don't know, and they may be busy, they may be caught off guard, and so I guess I'd be concerned that even if they were willing to help, just kind of taking up part of their time unannounced, I would think that would be a turnoff. What are your?
It could be, you know, you're just interrupting them in their day and there's some risk with that. That's why it would be good to say, Tracy suggested that I call you. Tracy suggested that I email you, because I asked, what's the best way to contact you? You gave that, and this is the way I'm contacting you, connecting you. That's the importance of asking that question. And so if Tracy said call, then that's a little bit better than just getting a cold call and you interrupting
Yes.
your day. I would still like to get an introduction so that there's something set up so that you can then have a follow-up call. Push for the gold. So let's talk about some questions. We're going to have to do some research, and we're going to find out what questions we want to ask. So how many should we prepare? People ask, well, suppose you only have 20 minutes. Well, you better have at least 10 if the average takes 2 minutes. You probably won't get 10 in 20 minutes, but brevity is good. They don't have, some people want to talk the whole time. CEOs love to talk generally. You can't get them to shut up. They say everything. But start with 10 and then 20 if it goes longer, because some people will, you do the 20 and you, at the end of the 20, you stop and say, okay, I've used up the 20 minutes. And they might say, well, I got some more time if you want to ask some questions, and they allow you. So then you block another 20. And at the end of that 20, you say, well, it's been another 20. And if they want to give you more time, but you kind of work in blocks of 20, reset at the end of that. And then prioritize them. What's the fewest number of questions you can ask to reach the information objective for this meeting? If I can get these are the most important ones for me to find out to help me move forward. Because we may not be able to use all of them, right? And at the end, how can I help you? Can I be of assistance to you? Or as we're talking to them, we find out some things that we can then figure out. And so maybe we send them an article or something. You've heard this, I'm sure, from other people. Stay in touch with them. Be at top of mind for people. Periodically say, I just want to let you know that I'm still looking. You know, for those that knows you're in job search and you've named target companies, and you might say, just wanted to let you know I'm looking, and here's my list of target companies that I currently have. Would you know anyone or know anyone who works in these companies? Right? So you do that. Now we're going to be prepared to answer questions about us, because they might come back after we talk. They talk about this. Well, tell me about you. Now, if it's a job search thing or whatever it might be, you don't know what it's going to be. If it's specifically in the job search and you know you're looking for a career change, you know that, really be prepared for this. I've heard, I haven't seen, but I've heard of several informational interviews that turned into hiring interviews. Because you ask questions about this and you kind of discovered some issues and problems that might be going on or what they know about. And so they ask about us, and you say, well, you give your, I'm an interview success coach, and I do these things for helping people have successful interviews. And so, okay, and conversation might go on. They might want my bio, all right? Well, have them look at that. They want to know what I'm looking for. Where are you looking? So for those people that are not in a company and say, well, what companies are you looking at? Great when they ask this, because we're going to show them and they say, you know anybody or know anybody who works in any of these companies, right? So be prepared for that. There's sample questions all over the world, all right? And so I'm going to just throw a few to you. These are some that don't really make a whole lot of sense at times, and so I'll just list them in here. I mean, this of the trainings you receive, which is the most impactful, okay? That might be for a person who is in training, and there's training in the company, and you want to be a trainer in that company. So I want to know about the training that you received. And, that's when that would be appropriate. Just a whole bunch of questions. Please don't use the what keeps you up at night, okay? Why am I saying that? Anybody guess?
Because they may be reluctant to share what the pain points in their company are.
That's one reason of the many.
It's pretty canned.
It's so often asked. It's just too often asked, and we don't want to ask those questions. And plus, the answer might be my 2-month-old daughter. It may not be job related at all. So just kill that one. The main reason is that it's too common ask, and we don't want to ask these common questions. We want to be different. Differentiation. So here's some sample questions here. Now, the interview itself, there's an opening. Talk about the purpose, talk about them first, and provide brief information. Questions that we'll have. We've got prepared and prioritized. We're going to take notes and look for items where we can help them. The closing. I appreciate your advice. So here's a sentence or something you can use as a guide for what you end with. And when you end is you want to look for more connections, look for more people to talk to. So always ask, is there somebody else that I should talk to? If they provide a referral, then here's all those questions about going through that. We've already talked about them. And if you don't provide a referral, that's what you do. And in a closing, how can I help you? Offer a follow-up item discovered during the interview. He says, well, I know somebody and I'll get in touch with them and I'll let you know day after tomorrow what their response is. If they give me a response, I'll give you a status update on that. Okay. Confirm any commitments in the coming weeks. And this has got to be appropriate. I'm looking for a job, but if you know someone that fits my helping experience, personality, I'd be interested in knowing about them. So you want to kind of be top of mind with them. Stay within the time limit. Be prepared to answer your questions. Have your business cards, your bio, and resume handy, face to face, but sometimes now we're giving it digitally. And be prepared for that job interview. The last one is follow up and thank you notes. Send a thank you note ASAP. I recommend that anybody you talk to gain any information, any help whatsoever, you send a thank you note. It doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter what the amount of value or anything they provide information, just doing something, send them a thank you note, okay? I make it a habit. I'm dating somebody right now and we take turns, buying meals, but I'll always send her a note. I'd send her a text and say, thank you for dinner. All right. She sent one back to me. Thank you for dinner. I'm hoping to send a note to her tonight. I want to go to dinner tonight. We'll see if that happens. I won't give you an update status on that one, but have some sort of matrix or something you can do to say, and these kind of things, but what's the date? What's the name? What's their phone? How do I reach them? Who referred me? What was in the meeting? They give names for referrals, and you got to give multiple lines if they give you more of that. So it'd be the same information. When's the follow-up, and what is the follow-up? All right, something like that. They might need some more than that. Last thing I want to tell you is about making a change. So we're uncomfortable with asking for help. We're uncomfortable with doing some of these things. So how do you just make a change? In general, we have to identify what the change is. So I want to do better at asking for help and for informational interviews. And so what is it that I've got to stop doing? Well, making excuses. If you go back to the reasons why we don't do them, the first 4 are excuses. You say, well, I'm not ready. Well, get ready. I don't know how to ask. Well, figure it out. I'm helping you here to figure out, do that one. So for each one that you've said, I don't know, that's on your to-do list to get experienced in, right? So what do I start doing? So I want to have these informational interviews. Give yourself permission. What is holding us back? Most of the time, it's just us. It's us that's holding us back. So give ourselves permission to start doing this. It's okay. It's a priority, and here's why it's important to me. In that process, let's start small. Start with people you know. Practice with people you know. You know people in this particular group. They know you. Maybe you've seen each other several times. So pick up somebody else. I understand this, and see what they can do. Start with your friends. Start with anybody that makes you a little bit more comfortable before you move into the cold calls or that kind of area. Find out the little ways you can step and get forward. And then you start making a habit of it. They say, I don't know how many times you have to do something before it becomes a habit, or how many days. So I'm not sure that if I eat cereal every morning for 26 days, that means I'm ready to eat cereal every morning for the rest of my life. But nonetheless, make a habit out of it. All right. And then make a metric out of it. Commit to, I will schedule. I will have conversations to have an informational interview. I'm going to have 4 of those, and out of those, in each week, I want to schedule 2 informational interviews. Put a metric on it, put a guide, so that your actions are going to say, hey, I'm supposed to do this. I've got to go do that. And then reward yourself with these small success stepping stones. Don't look for success as getting the job. Look for success as the actions that you're doing that help you get that job that you can celebrate along the way. So every informational interview is a stepping stone towards success and moving towards getting that job. Okay. Any questions?
Hey, Walt, I joined a couple of minutes late. The first hello, Walt. So one of the first slides you had was talking about the percentage success rates as far as like referrals and things like that. And I think the referral 7%. I don't know if Tracy's going to provide can you show that slide again, or I don't know if Tracy's going to provide a copy of the presentation, but.
Well, I'm going to drop a copy of the presentation in the chat window.
Okay, that sounds good. Because
okay.
To be honest, that was disheartening to see some of those percentages, especially the referral, the 7%.
Yep. Okay.
I had a question for you, Walt.
All right.
You mentioned toward the end of your talk about a lot of times we hold ourselves back, and I was just wondering if you could reiterate that a little more, because I think that's very true. So I was just curious what your
yeah. Sometimes we say, I can't do this. I'm an introvert. Yes, you can. And how do you, what's the difference between an introvert and an extrovert? An extrovert shows a lot of enthusiasm and excitement. An introvert shows a lot of interest, high interest. With that in your mind, you're very interested in something, then you're going to talk and speak like the enthusiastic person is. Maybe not quite as loud, maybe not jumping up on the table and dancing, but if you just show interest, and if you're interested in meeting me, if you're interested in the information that I can give you, that's going to be your motivation and your driver. Same thing in an interview. If you're interested in meeting your interviewer, if you're excited about meeting the interviewer, excited about the job or the company, that sort of thing. So I fall back on the interest for that. Now, if you start small and do it and start building confidence. So I do an interview workshop. One practice is not sufficient, right? one practice interview isn't going to make you feel very confident in an interview. It's a process that you're going to go through. Jared went through about 4 of mine and 7 on the pit crew, if you're familiar with the practice interview team that Mark McDonald leads. And when he got his job, he said, the real interview was simple. It was easy. And you go, duh, why do you reckon that is? Right? So doing it builds that confidence so that you feel more comfortable doing it. Nike has it, just do it. I know that when I lost my wife, what did I want to do? I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to eat. I was going through a tough time. It was really difficult, right? And everybody says, you're not alone. And I said, you're crazy. I am alone. Yeah, I know you're around or something like that, but I'm alone, So all this kind of stuff didn't make me feel any better. But at some point in time, I had to say, she's gone. I got to move on. I got to do something. I can't stay like this, all right? And so I'll try to minimize that amount of time that you go through that grief period to do that. But was I motivated to do anything? Not in the least. You just sometimes have to say, let me do a little one, and then I'll do another little one, and then keep going to build that up. Does that help?
Yeah, I was going to add, would you say that a lot of times we have a tendency to focus on our own insecurities as opposed to the opportunities that are right in front of us? So a lot of times, I know for me, it's an awareness issue. The opportunity is right there, but because I'm focused on my own insecurity, I don't see it. So would you say that's also a factor?
Well, I'm going to rephrase that. We do the things we like to do and we can do, and we focus on those. Okay. I can apply online. That's easy. Okay. I can get on there and I can do that all day long, whatever it is. And so the other things that, that I'll have fun with. So, the rude phrase is get over it. I mean, you understand what you need to learn and do in a job search and then go out and learn to do those things. People talk about, I love to learn. I love challenges. Okay, here you are. I don't see a smile on your face about learning and facing the challenge, right? But once we get better at it and we see some progress in making things and we're beginning to have those interviews and we're having that stuff and we're learning things and we're getting better and going along with it, that builds your confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the mental challenge has been the toughest part for me, both the ups and the downs, and especially, with everything being done virtually, the isolation, and you're in your own little tank, marinating your own juices, and you're just, trying to snap yourself out of when you're having a bad week is tough.
Well, I can tell you 2 things. One is, once we know what to do, then we want to start doing it. So I am a very practical person. I know a lot of whats, but I don't know very many hows. So I start working on the how side. In the morning, when you get up, you look into the mirror and smile. You smile at yourself. You smile and say, I'm going to make some progress today. And I'm smiling at myself, because smiling has a physical positive effect on our bodies. Certain things are going on in our body to make us feel good. You can't smile when you're upset. It's pretty hard. But smiling to start your day, to try to get it positive, we do something physical that'll help us feel better mentally. Have your objectives for the day, your plan. It's okay, I'm going to spend my time doing these things today to accomplish these. That's going to help us.
Appreciate that.
See, I got 2 kinds of smiles. One is take your picture, smile, Walt, which is a facial contortion. Okay, if there's any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them. I'm going to put this thing in the chat window in a minute, but I'd like you to know about the Interview Success Workshop. It's very informal. It's not a mock interview at all. I do small group, 1 to 2 people at a time. I cover the basics of selling I am, I do, I help, and differentiation in the workshop. It's very choppy. It's not smooth at all because we cover 12 categories of questions, motives behind them, and suggestions, options, strategies, approaches that we might use in answering this type of question. so that when you get a negative question, you know you need to pause. You need to be very short with a negative. It needs to be something of little impact. You have to turn it into a positive. And so how do you do that for mistakes or failures and weaknesses? So we talk about those kind of things and to the fundamentals. I had a person yesterday. He is director, vice presidential level and marketing. And at the end of the interview or end of the session, and I do it all the time. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how valuable was your time? And he said 11. This goes for everybody. It does not matter what your job is, what your role is, what level you are in an organization. It's how you go about doing things. I told him at the beginning, I said, whatever you thought we were going to do, we're not going to do that today. That's how I started off. So come and learn. You put your learning hat on, not your test, exam, fail, pass, whatever it is. We're just going to try to improve. That's the whole purpose of coming. I'm on your side, trying to help you. I'm going to give you some opinions and options, then you're going to decide which one of those is going to help. I have a handout. It has an hour-long video that goes with a handout on all that stuff that I'll do during the interview process. You get a video of your interview. You get a lot of stuff. And if you don't like it, you get double your money back. So sign up. Now, if you're really excited about signing up, use your phone. Hit that QR code and it sends an email. It says this. It says, so I'm already going to make it easy for you. You know, I always make it easy for people to help you. So I got to follow my own advice. So if you're interested in signing up, put your phone at that. It'll start an email. You just got to edit a couple of things for your phone number and how you learned and when, and change my signature out and put yours in there. Always have your signature with the information on how to reach and connect or contact you. And I'll get the email and I'll give you some availability dates and we'll get going. I've never had a person who did not say they were glad they took the workshop.
Such a wonderful offer, Walt. We really appreciate that.
Okay.
Well, this has been fabulous. Any other questions from anyone?
Yeah, I actually had a question. It's kind of complicated, I guess, but what I'm trying to figure out is like on the back end of this thing, the end of it, how is the most likely way this will help to obtain a job? Is it like be like probably a referral, or to be more like should show you about a job that's not like a job that's not posted, so maybe saying here's a job that I heard about that's like a not yet known, so it's like how does it work out? Because I can't quite figure that out in my mind. That's something that to me is very important in terms of like how I spend my time.
Well, what's the purpose of the meeting?
I mean,
Somebody's got a bad cough.
Sorry, my dogs are really loud. When I mean basically, I understand the how of like information interviewing and getting information, but at some point the goal is to get a job, right? And so I'm trying to figure out how does that like switch from like, okay, I'm getting information to like, okay, now how am I going to get a job out of this?
Okay. Well, first of all, I suggest that you target where you want a job. You got to know the kind of job you want, and you want to know the kind of company you want to work for. And so there are resources available through the library. Reference Solutions is a great one. Just says, here's criteria for companies. And so it's got geographic stuff. So where do I want to work? How far away do I want? How long do I want to work? What kind of company is it? What do they do? What are their options? How big are they? How small are they? Are they company? Are they private? They're all this kind of thing to say, yeah, these are target companies. And when you put in one, you'll go down and see all this list of competitors and they become targets. And you begin to say, these are the companies I want to try to get into. I don't care whether they have a job or not. So that's one of the things that you do with it, is try to find that out. And you talk with other people as well. Say, I'm interested in this particular industry. What companies would you say I should pay attention to? All that, because you're preparing yourselves. All right, here's my target. So you use them for that. Now, if you've got a specific job you're interested in, then you want to find somebody maybe that has that job or a similar job like that in any company, or particularly the target company that you're interested in, that you want to talk to. And you want to talk to them and you want to find out what's it like to work here. All those questions that I had. What caused you to work? What is it about the company? You want to find a culture fit, because culture, personality outweighs the I do and the I help. If I don't like you, I'm not hiring you. I don't care what you can do and I don't care how you can help. So I want to find that culture fit. I want to have questions that cover culture, and I want to talk to them about that. In fact, I'm putting something together on that as we speak. You know, for example, a question might be, what do you guys do for lunch? And these are for the people that are meeting in an office. What do you do for lunch? And so why would I ask that question? Well, the company that I last worked for, everybody stayed in their office and worked. What does that tell you? You know, there's that message there about that.
Yeah.
All right. How many hours a week do you expect, you know, in this particular role? Well, we expect about 80 hours a week. I mean, there's a message there. Anyway, so you do those things to find out where you can get. Then if you're looking for a particular company and a job in a particular company. Now, most people target a company that has a job they want. Not a bad way, but you don't want to do it just that way. You want to find the company that does what you want to do and target them. And it does not matter if they have a job there, right? So you go into that process. Then you find out what it's like. So maybe you're talking to somebody in HR. You found somebody who said, yeah, I'm interested in finding out more about the company. What do you have to do to get on board here? What's the process? Who do we need to talk to? Who do I need to talk to? I'm interested in finding out more, you know, so you try to make connections. Does that make sense?
Yeah, more or less, right? So you get the in sort of there, but then I've had, so actually one thing that kind of confused me was people I've talked to, like at a company that I want to work for, which is Raytheon, talk to people there, have contacts, my parents have friends and stuff. But they've all been saying things like, hey, like I can't really help you, or hey, like all I can do is like send you to like this job application to apply online. And so I haven't gotten much traction, even though I have had people talk to there. So I'm trying to figure out, like, am I trying to just get, I need to keep pushing and keep trying to ask for more help? Or is it something where they seem to do like a specific like referral that I'm asking for? Like, what specifically am I trying to ask for or get, I guess? Maybe I'm just confusing everyone else. I don't know, but I'm confused.
Are you very specific for the help you want when you ask them?
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking like you want to work in marketing and your contact is in IT, and so you talk with them, you say, no, I'm interested to talk with somebody in marketing. Do you know anybody in marketing? You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you want to be very specific and you want it to be very easy for them to accomplish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember people when we're meeting face to face as well, I'm looking for something in the North Dallas area. And if anybody's got any ideas, you know, let me know.
Yeah.
And so everybody's going to rush out and look for you a job, right? Didn't happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
be specific about the help that you want. Be brief.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tim, I think if you use Walt's slide, and I've done this before too, where you're just asking for kind of something quick and informational, 15 to 20 minutes, you're looking for advice and guidance,